Hello and welcome to another episode of Focus on Framingham. This is my 14th show. I'm recording it on April 14th, 2020. And there's a lot to talk about, as you can imagine, in the news. So let's get into it. First, I want to share a video that the mayor released the other day on YouTube in regards to the playgrounds here in Framingham and people not obeying the social distancing. So let's get that queued up here.
Good afternoon, Framingham residents. I just want to give you an update. We are actively trying to encourage and help people socially distance, whether it's in our parks or on our trails. What we've been experiencing over the last couple of days is people working very hard at trying to monitor our locations and staff being overrun, and I've made the decision to have swings taken down, basketball hoops taken down, because we are finding people are congregating in large groups. I've received emails, text messages to complain about the situation. And it's mainly people are concerned about their safety and the safety of their children, but also we have to do this together. It cannot be some doing it and some not. This is a matter of safety for this community. I need your help in this process. Please follow proper protocol for social distancing, sanitizing, washing hands, and for the most part, stay at home if you can. You still can go to the grocery store, do errands, go for exercise, but really spend time at home as much as you possibly can. Stay safe, Framingham.
So that was Mayor Yvonne Spicer giving an update on the Parks and Rec, which they also released on their Facebook page regarding the taking down of the swings and the hoops to try to discourage people from collecting together. In Massachusetts right now, we have, let's see, I'm going to try to put this graphic up here. You can see that we're up to over 10,000 cases here in Massachusetts. So the case number is climbing, and the number of deaths has also, this is as of a couple days ago, but we're up to 38 deaths here in Middlesex County alone. So we're definitely leading, and there's a number of reasons why that might be, but I'm guessing it's just because of the nature of the suburbs and the just, you know, people have to get out and about. Sometimes in order to get food, not everybody has access to being able to order things online and having it delivered. So I'm just going to run through some other articles before we get to our interview. The school has actually distributed more than 2,000 Chromebooks. This is a story from the Framingham source. There are more than 9,000 students in the public school district, and over the weekend, Framingham Public Schools, this is a couple weeks ago, distributed 2,068 Chromebooks to families in need, according to the district's spokesperson. So I'm glad to hear that they are able to repurpose the Chromebooks that are used in the schools, and I just read that they're actually now, originally they were distributing them at the schools, but now anybody that is still in need of one will actually get it through the mail, just to further try to maintain the social distancing. Let's see what else here. It's important, by the way, the DPW sent out a notice to not flush disinfectant wipes down the toilet, and they can block your pipe, causing expensive plumbing repairs, or block the city's sewage pipes. We're all in this together, Framingham. Stay home, wash your hands, and don't flush your wipes. Of course, this means those like non-flushable, like Clorox sanitizing wipes. Also, the Comcast is providing Internet Essentials program for families in need of internet access. If you're eligible, it's only $9.95 a month, and you can get internet. Also, the Xfinity Wi-Fi free for everyone hotspots will be available to anyone who needs them for free, including non-Xfinity internet subscribers. So I'm glad to hear about that. What else here? And so one issue that has come about because of the shelter in place across the nation in the cities and the states that are participating in that is that domestic violence is on the rise, because obviously if you're home with somebody that's abusive, now you're home with them 24/7. And so there are resources available for people to get help if you're in that type of situation, or if you know nobody that's in that type of situation. Stephanie Deeley joins us next here on Focus on Framingham. So on our topic of domestic violence, our next guest has been in the past the Purple Passion Run chair, and is a big advocate of the Voices Against Violence here in Framingham. I'd like to welcome to the show Stephanie Deeley. Hi, Stephanie. How are you doing?
Hi, Michael. I'm good, and thank you so much for having me on.
So, I just ran the PSA that showed how, in this time of lockdown, a lot of women that are being abused are at home with their abusers a lot more, and how it's become more of a critical situation.
Right.
What can you tell us about what you've heard about situations like that, and what type of resources are there for them to get help?
Sure. Okay, so first, for people to understand how this is an issue, I would say think about having someone say to you that we're going to lock you down in a house with the person that you're most afraid of in the whole world, and that person is your abuser. One of the key tools that abusers use to control their victims is to isolate them from their family and their friends. And this coronavirus, which has resulted in social distancing and people being limited to their homes, has given them the ability to do that much more effectively, easily. So these victims are now in a home with the person they're most afraid of, who controls often their cell phone, their access to the phone, their access to the internet. So it gives them very limited opportunities to be able to reach out and ask for help. And I've heard stories of victims of domestic violence who are at home with their abusers saying that their abusers are actually weaponizing COVID-19 by taking away their health cards, by threatening to put them in a position where they'd get infected, anything to scare them, by telling them that they're responsible for taking care of everything at home. Meanwhile, they're their life, and they know that if they don't do what their abuser is asking, and if they obey the so-called rules, then they face serious punishment and not a lot of options. The normal way someone would reach out by cell phone, can't really do that when you're in the house with your abuser. How do you get on a phone in a location where they're not going to hear you and ask for help? And so places like Voices have had to find other ways to be able to reach out to their clients, to these people in need, by doing things like setting up a web chat where you log into this web chat and you can reach an advocate on the other end who is there to answer your questions, to offer help, to see what you need that they can do. And if there's a button on the top, and if you click that, you're out of the webcast. There's nothing in your history that shows you have been there. Unlike with the cell phone, that even if you text, the abuser has access to your cell phone and can see your text. So there's different ways that they have to reach out now. Besides which, Voices staff is all working remotely, and it just makes it more difficult.
Yeah, I'm going to put the information up on the screen now for the 24-hour support hotline, and then the chat that you were just talking about.
Right.
The rc.chat/voices.
Right.
That sounds like an excellent resource for people that are trying to get help.
It is.
And
one of the other issues is in shelters. There's no ability to do social distancing, really.
Yeah.
So what happens, first of all, the advocates and the people who staff these shelters are not trained medical experts. So they may have mental health training, but not medical training, and yet they're expected to be able to manage the situation. So if someone in the shelter does test positive for COVID, what does that mean? There's no place else for that person to go. There's no place for the people in that shelter. And people need to remember that especially when a woman leaves a domestic violence situation, she often takes her children with her. So we're not just talking about a woman of any age, but often we're talking about young children that are also being put in this position.
Wow. One thing, not everybody knows somebody that's in that type of situation or has ever been in that type of situation. And one thing that I've always seen is that people just say, why do these people stay with them? Why are they there? And what they really need to understand is that it's a lot more complicated than just walking away. There's financial reasons, there's emotional investment, there's all these reasons that make it so hard for somebody to just walk away,
Right. I often say to people, think about it. Nobody would choose to stay in a situation where their life is threatened. So if you can acknowledge that fact, then you can recognize that just as you said, there's so many factors at play. Women are afraid. The most dangerous time for a woman who's in an abusive relationship is when she decides to leave. That is when the majority of the incidents escalate to result in homicides or very serious injuries. They also are often in a position where if they leave, they feel they're putting other people in danger. I lost a sister to domestic violence, and one of the issues that she faced was that her husband, who was her abuser, would make threats against her family if she left. They also, we've all heard, most people have heard of the Stockholm Syndrome. There's also the same sort of situation in play for women who are victims of domestic violence, and that their abuser is effective at cutting them off from any kind of support that's going to be positive.
Right.
So they believe what their abuser tells them, that no one cares, that the only person that cares about them is them, that nobody's going to believe them. And often abusers are well known and well respected in their community. People often think that you should have known this person was bad, or, but these people are often very successful, very well liked in their community. The only place where this ugliness comes out is in a one-on-one relationship with an intimate partner. And so a woman is faced with, everybody thinks that my husband or my boyfriend is this great guy, who's going to believe me if I out and say this, and that can be scary for a woman also.
You're right. And I would imagine that there might be some women that just feel that the situation is their fault and that they deserve what's happening to them.
They do.
And nobody deserves to be abused. Nobody deserves any type of treatment that's hurtful physically or mentally.
Exactly.
And so I really would hope that, if this message, if this show reaches one of those women, that they could somehow find a way to utilize the resources to get help. Because this situation that we're in right now, this is going to air on April 4th. And, we're still halfway through this.
Right.
At the best, this could go on for weeks, maybe months more. And if you need help, I would just hope that somebody could, either get help, or if somebody knows, what would you recommend if you know somebody that's in an abusive situation? What's the best way that somebody could help in that type of situation?
I think the best thing any of us can do is to connect them or encourage them to connect with someplace like Voices Against Violence. Those people are trained, they know exactly what to do. And I often say to people that, first of all, I wanted to address one of the statements you made, and that is that not everybody knows someone who's in this situation. And I tend to disagree with that. I think that all of us know someone who's in a dangerous situation. We may not know that, but it is so prevalent today that it may not be a close friend, but it could be a neighbor, it could be a coworker, it could be someone in your church, it could be someone you just casually know. But I expect that all of us know someone who's either been there or is there right now. And I often tell people that the scariest conversation to have is to go to someone and say, I think you're in a dangerous relationship, because the woman, as you said, either sees it as her fault and is ashamed, won't admit it, or is afraid. But anyone who's ever heard me talk on the issue has heard me say that my sister would be furious at me for telling her story, and would have been furious at me for pushing her, as I did, to get help. But I would give anything in the world to have her here today mad at me. No. So take the risk. If you think you don't want to put someone in a more dangerous situation. So in these times when access to a victim is so much more limited because you can't get them alone, you have to be very careful, because anything you say to them could put them in much, much greater danger. So I really believe the best thing to do is to get the word out there about places like Voices Against Violence that are ready and trained and know how to help. In your situation, no matter what you think, you are not the only person who's in this situation. You're not alone. 99% of the people in the world would willingly put up their hand to help you, but you have to find a way to reach out and ask for that help, as tough as it is. But you don't deserve this life. You are a valuable person. You are a good person. You have a right to a happy life. You have a right to a safe life, as do your children, if you have children in this situation. And you are not condemned to live this way for the rest of your life. There are people who are here to help. There are organizations who know exactly what to do, no matter what your situation is, to give you some assistance. So reach out. And Voices, from my personal experience, they are the aces. They are there for the victims as well as their families and their children. And they have wonderful support programs. They have wonderful advocates, and they will help you any way you need, any way they can.
So they have a Facebook page with tons of information. It's, yes. If I can pull it up here. It is at facebook.com/voicesma, all one word. One of the graphics that you would see on that page is this one here, that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And also, they are also doing a program for a medical. Let's see. This is for a collection kit, but I also noticed that that they had a. It was actually a link for people who want to help. They had a link to a Amazon wish list that had items to give to women when they come to Voices, that can help them, in that time. Things like just clothes and underwear and things like that, personal items, just to help them make it more comfortable when they're in that situation.
Right. Most women don't leave with a packed suitcase.
Yeah.
They're running out the door as fast as they can with nothing but the clothes on their backs.
So
those
if
things are important.
So if somebody's there and they want to, if somebody wants to help, would that be a great way to support the Voices Against Violence? Is to
It is a great
donate?
way.
Okay.
Those donations will go directly to the women that reach out to Voices who are in need. Every dime they take in, every donation they get goes directly to these victims of domestic abuse or sexual abuse. So it really makes a difference what people do. And we all think, what can I do? We just need someone. I care, I'm involved, I want to help, but I don't know how. That's a great way. You don't have to be trained. You don't have to even come in contact with people, which is now an issue because of this social distancing. But you can go on Amazon, which just about all of us do, and you can then donate materials that will make it much better for these women and make them understand that they, think about it. You leave your house with nothing. You're already feeling like you have no value, you have no worth. And think about how important it would be to go somewhere where someone has a clean pair of pajamas and a safe bed for you to sleep in. Something that you may not have had for a while, that safe place to sleep. So this is a great way to help Voices do the work that they do so well. Difficult economic times are often a trigger for domestic violence and for abuse. And so if we're all locked in our homes with our significant others or our families or whatever the case may be, and economics is playing a part, then the anger has no place to go except to the other people in that home. So these women, when they leave, are often going to leave with nothing. And Voices is facing some challenges now, not just, although the number of calls has not increased significantly, primarily, we believe, because women can't get to a phone to make those calls.
Wow.
The requests they are getting is for more help for things like paying a utility bill or putting food on the table, because women try to make I shouldn't keep saying women, victims try to make their homes calm, to make there be no issues that are going to raise anger. So they want to make sure the bills are paid, make sure there's food on the table. So those victims are all, when they're asking for this help, it's not just, I need my electric bill paid. It's like, I need to be safe. So I need to take any reason for my abuser to get angry off the table that I can. So any help, any donations of money or those Amazon wish lists go a long way to helping accomplish that.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. I think you kind of glossed over there maybe a little bit, but the Voices is for both men and women that are abused.
Yes.
And
anybody who's abused.
That wish list, that Amazon wish list had items for both men and women on it. So, unfortunately, the vast majority of domestic abuse is towards women, but it does happen towards men, and
it does.
And it's and that could be even tougher for a man to admit to. And
exactly.
It's the same, just as it's not good. It's not good against women. It's not good against men either, and that's important for anybody to understand. And anybody can be an abuser. It doesn't matter what sex you are. So
exactly.
One other project that we worked on recently, right before everything kind of went south here, was that we did a show called "Breaking the Cycle of Shame." Do you remember that?
Yes,
And
we did.
and that was with your work with the it was the Metro West Commission on the Status of Women. What can you tell
Right.
us about that?
So we have done several events related to, obviously, the Metro West Commission on the Status of Women covers issues for women and girls in the Metro West area. So reproductive health, cyberbullying, the sharing of sexual pictures via the internet that may have been okay between a partner, but you never gave them permission to share. So what we try to do, what the commission tries to do, is to call attention to the issues that are facing primarily all women and girls, and to show them some areas where they can gain assistance in those things. So breaking the cycle of shame, we dealt primarily with a well-known woman who had experienced a relationship that her partner had taken pictures of her in an intimate setting and then had shared those widely. The woman that was the victim was well known, so there was a lot of interest when those pictures went out. And there are not many laws on the books right now to protect that, not because nobody thinks it's wrong, but because this is a relatively new issue.
Yeah.
So we dealt with that. We have forums where women are encouraged to come in and talk about the issues they're facing that are in particular to women, a lot of immigrant women, child care issues, unequal pay, as well as sexual assault, domestic violence. There's just as there are issues for everyone in this society, women face their own set of issues, and the commission tries to address those issues. There was a virtual meeting last night of the state commission with all of the regional commissions, and we invited the public to attend. And much of what we heard last night was in relationship to domestic violence and the crisis now that has been exacerbated by these issues with COVID-19, and also with incarcerated women who also are facing issues related to COVID-19, because as we can all understand, prisons don't have a lot of ability for social distancing either.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, these are not, as we said, men and women can be victims.
Yeah.
But we focus on the issues particular to women, and that's our goal and that's our mission. So we do events like that with the hope that we can reach a broad audience and get the word out there that nobody has to face any of these issues alone, and that we're here to help. We work actively to promote legislation that is beneficial to women and families and young girls. So it's a busy position to be, but there's such a need that, and it's a great group of women on the Metro West Commission and also all over the state. So the work is important, and we are making strides, which is important also.
Well, that's great to hear. Stephanie, I wish we could talk longer, but it's been very informative. It's been a great pleasure having you on my show, and thank you,
Mike.
Thank you for all the work that you've been doing. You and Jim have been great with all of these, organizing all of these events and the fundraising and everything that you do. If our viewers would like to see the Breaking the Cycle of Shame program that's airing right now on Access Framingham in April, it's also on their Facebook page. If you just search on Facebook for the Metro West Commission on the Status of Women, you'll find that video there as well. Stephanie, thank you so much for being on my show, and I hope that you and Jim are staying well, and I hope to see you again soon.
Same to you, Michael, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about an issue that's so important. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Stay healthy. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.